If you flip over your handy sheet, you'll see a couple of songs there. And we'll just sing our way through them. If you know them, sing along. If you don't, you will the second time round. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. The second song, We Resist, is a song that we sing to ourselves. It's a prayer that we offer ourselves to whatever's going on around us. Try not to take it into ourselves. So we resist. We refuse to let hatred in. It goes like this. We resist. We refuse. No, I'm singing the same tune as I just sang. Lord, help me. See, you did the same thing. How about we'll do with joy that I have? This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. This hope that I have, this hope that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This hope that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This hope that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. We resist, we refuse. Yeah, we still don't know it. Okay, maybe we just don't know this song. We do know this song. We sing it every Sunday. All right, Lord, help us. We resist. We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up. We won't back down. We're in this till the end. We resist. We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up. We won't back down. We're in this till the end. We resist. We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up. We won't back down. We're in this till the end. We resist. We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up. We won't back down. We're in this till the end. Amen. All right, once again, welcome. We're glad you're here. My name is Kay. I'm one of the pastors here, along with some other beautiful people. And whatever faith, background, whatever religion or lack thereof you come from. This is your place, and you're very welcome here. And it's good to be together. Amen. Brennan?
Thank you for the welcome, Pastor Kay. It's great to be here with you all tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the first round of prayer givers. I'm Brennan Brink. I'm the Associate Director of Migrant Outreach at the Interfaith Center of New York. Thank you, Kiana, for 100 reasons for helping organize today, but also thank you for the reminder to introduce myself. I am now, though, going to introduce our first round of prayer givers who are joining us today. I'm going to introduce the whole first round who are offering a sort of reflective prayer. I will introduce them in the order, so come in the order that I introduce you after the person ahead of you. So our first prayer is going to be from Rabbi Felicia Soul from B'nai Jeshurun, offering a prayer from a Jewish perspective. And then Reverend Daiken Nelson Roshi at the Pamsula Zen Center, offering a prayer from a Buddhist perspective. Sunita Viswanath is then next, Executive Director of Hindus for Human Rights, offering a prayer from a Hindu perspective. And then Reverend Serene Jones, President of Union Theological Seminary, offering a prayer from a Christian perspective.
I offer this prayer on behalf of myself and Rabbi Rolly Matalan, who's here, and also our social justice manager, Kiana Davis. Langston Hughes has a poem called Tired. I am so tired of waiting, aren't you, for the world to become good and beautiful and kind. Let us take a knife and cut the world in two and see what worms are eating at the rind. O God of time and space, we are tired of waiting for the good, for the change for the better, for the arrival of justice and dignity. Min hametzer karati ya, anani v'merchavya. So we cry out from this narrow space, from the devastation of all that eats away at our democracy, from the vile disregard of your image in every human being, the hatred of the stranger and the orphan and the widow. Answer us with expansiveness, with resilience, with faithfulness, guiding our way through. Adonai li be'ozrai v'ani ereh b'sonai. Be by our side through it all, be our help, and let us see the evil and the hatred, the vulgarity and mendacity be defeated. Tov l'chasot b'Adonai, it is good to have trust in you, O God, to restore our faith in what is possible, to seek to do what is right and good in the eyes of you, O God, to be inspired by a more perfect world. Shir lama'alot esa inai el ha'harim me'ayin yavo ezri. From this narrow place we will look for songs of ascent. We will turn our eyes to the mountain and ask from where will our help come. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Our help comes from you, God, maker of heaven and earth. Shir hama'alot leDavid, hinei ma tov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. And we will also ascend together. How good it is, as it's written up here, for brothers and sisters, all siblings of all faiths, to sit together and create harmony, to sing songs, pray prayers, to remind us to keep going, to lift each other up, even when we are tired and weary. Ki amarti olam chesed yibaneh, for we will declare, we shall build this world on love.
So one of the foundational texts or chants that we have in the Buddhist tradition is called the Heart Sutra. And it talks about the boundlessness of all reality, how there are no limits to ideas or concepts of all of this unfolding as it is in this moment, and that there are no absolute truths or absolute definitions, and that nothing is separate from anything else, and that nobody and no thing is alone in this moment, just as it is. At the end of that chant, there's a gatha or a phrase that kind of goes back to some of the tantric practices, and it has been translated often as beyond, beyond, gone far beyond, gone beyond any sort of understanding of this and that and self and other. And I recently led a workshop, and I ran across a translation in which someone said arriving beyond any sort of arrival to just this in this moment as it is, all interconnected and all springing from loving kindness and compassion and equanimity and empathy. So I'll just give that chant a try. Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. Thank you.
After the US elections last week, people all around us are expressing a lot of fear and hopelessness. And yet, we must find the resources within us and around us to rouse ourselves up and get motivated, activated for everything we believe in. For ourselves, our immediate families, our community, and the entire world. I was raised by parents who told me that Lord Ganesha, the elephant-headed deity, the son of Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati, never refuses children. I'm not a child, but I still go to Lord Ganesha in my more broken moments with the prayers of a child. Every part of Ganesha's body has an important meaning. Ganesha's enormous flapping ears remind us that we have to listen. His gigantic head tells us to think and discern. His tiny eyes tells us to focus. His huge belly represents his appetite for everything life brings. We must digest, that is, deal with head-on, everything good and bad. His thick and strong trunk can balance any object, tiny or large, and this tells us the importance of balance and equanimity at all times. Ganesha has 2 tusks, but one is broken and one is intact. He himself broke a tusk to write the Mahabharata. This to me represents just how much self-sacrifice is needed in order to achieve one's goal. So just meditating on Lord Ganesha helps me navigate a challenge, a crisis, or a conflict. And at this time of deep division, fear, and anxiety, and escalating wars and genocides, we must listen to each other, think for ourselves and discern, maintain steady focus, deal with the challenges head on, make sacrifices, and move forward with as much balance and equanimity as we can muster. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. O Lord Ganesha, of curved trunk and large body, brilliant as an infinite sun, may our work be free of all obstacles. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
So I'm come from the Calvinist Christian tradition and have absolutely no ability to sing, just as a warning. But what beautiful sounds we have heard, so I will take the option given to me to reflect or to sing. I will reflect. I come to you today surrounded by many friends from Union Theological Seminary, and even in the short time since last week, many conversations have been taking place. Today, the focus of our time together as a staff in terms of facing into the future, and then following that with students, was how do we begin to create a culture in which we recognize that it is our collective responsibility to take care of each other's safety. That is not a stacking up of priorities of safety, but that, and where none of us are safe until we are all together caring for the well-being of each other. The day after last Wednesday morning was for me one of the most moving mornings of my time at Union. Like so many here, I woke up in a very awful mood, not wanting to face the day, but I was sort of jerked out of my slow awakening by the sound of drums in the courtyard of Union. And I looked out the window, and slowly gathering from the student dorms and some of the administrative offices, and then people coming in off the streets, were musical instruments. There was our Dean Sue Pock with a tambourine in her head. Our PhD student Larry dragged out his electric piano. We had Claudio playing the guitar. We had so many different people with every kind of drum you could imagine beginning to drum. And by 9 o'clock in the morning, an entire assembly of music had been spontaneously created, and the singing and the music and the constant chanting went on far into the evening. Over 12 hours of music making. And the sense of resolve that came from this insistence on making music in the midst of a sense of growing and potentially devastating loss was such a powerful act of resistance. So if I could sing for you, I would sing what began, and this is the prayer that I offer today. The most repeated song of the day was sung every third song. What was most remarkable to me is all these students who were in their 20s and 30s were singing songs that I, at 65, knew in my youth. So the songs aren't changing that much. But the one that was repeated over and over again, Claudio could probably stand up and sing it better. But in the words of Bob Marley, one love, one heart. Let's get together and be all right. One love, one heart. Let's get together and be all right. Amen. Hi, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lee Matthews. I'm one of the pastors here. It's really good to be together. As we move from reflection into a time of prayer and charge, it occurs to me that we don't have to leave lament or cut short our sorrow before we do face what is in front of us, our moment. We don't have to be mess-free, certainly as individuals or as a collective community, in order to look ahead and to prepare for what might be next. But what we can't do is to get stuck in despair. We don't have the luxury to allow for hopelessness or cynicism, anxiety or anger to block our collective work and to shield us from looking at this, our moment, our reality. Now, many of us work with and serve and are in community with folks who are among us the most vulnerable, and they will be targeted by an executive agenda which espouses and which uplifts racism, isolationism, heteropatriarchy, ableism, xenophobia, and a moral and political attack on the poor and the already disenfranchised among us. We know this, and we have all witnessed a tearing, a breaking in our national moral compass, in our nation's soul. It would be very, very easy. It would be very easy to just throw in the towel and to say, I give up. It's broken. Take it. But that's not what we do. And that's certainly not who we are. Is it? Is it? The words from Nobel laureate and poet Derek Walcott, they come to my mind, and I hold on to them now. I ask that these words remind us of who we are and what we are charged to do. He said this: break a vase. Break a vase, and the love that reassembles the fragments is stronger than the love which took its symmetry for granted when it was whole. Think about that for a second. Friends, community, and family, we all are in the business of repair, of reassembling the fragments of what has been broken within us and without us, in our lives, in our communities, and even in our nation. We're in the business of justice making and remaking. We're also, whether we want to be in the moment or not, we're in the business of hope. And not empty hope or some kind of fake hope, but real and tangible, roll up your sleeves, sweat on your brows, more meetings than we can count, more marches than we can attend. Hope. Hope that praises God for another breath. Hope that orients to blessings, not only to needs. Hope that's thankful for a new day to try again to get it right. The show up and get stuff done kind of hope. The hope that when one of us can't find it or can't hold on to it, knows that it can be borrowed from somebody else until it's home back within us. That kind of hope is what we are rebuilders of. So here's to reassembling the broken fragments. Here's to the creation of maybe something altogether new, but desperately needed. So I charge you, I charge all of us, hope bearers, do-gooders, justice seekers, bleeding and beautiful-hearted siblings, and witnesses to a world to come that is different from what we see right now. Stay gentle, friends. Stay warm-hearted, but stay in the work. We're in it together.
Thank you so much, Rev. Lee. We're now coming to the portion of prayer givers that is more about meeting this moment. And to do that, I just want to underscore for a moment a few points from Rev. Lee. And also to speak from my place as someone who sees the fantastic work the faith community does, and specifically sees the ways in which the faith community has welcomed new New Yorkers. I've seen clothing pantries and food pantries, legal clinics, the opening of someone's sanctuary for safety, for warmth, the welcoming of people into their sanctuary for a place to lay their head. And I say that because I know that the individuals and the communities in this room, the individuals and communities in this room, together now are a testament to action, to defiant joy, and to the requisite rest in response to not merely the present moment, but also recent and long-standing violence and systemic oppression. And so as we turn to the next four voices in the room, let's hold together the calling forward, the calling to what we know we can do, to action. Those four speakers, again, I will give your names, come up once at a time. First, we'll have Father Ryan A. Muldoon, Director of the Office of Ecumenical and Interreligious Dialogue for the Archdiocese of New York, offering a prayer from a Catholic perspective. Then Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum is joining us with the New York Jewish Agenda, offering prayer from a Jewish perspective. Reverend Terry Troya, the Executive Director of Project Hospitality, coming all the way from Staten Island to be here with us today, offering a prayer from a Christian perspective. And then Imam Ammar Abdul Rahman, the Imam at Al-Haram Masjid in the Bronx, as well as Director of Muslim Life on Campus, offering a prayer from an Islamic perspective.
When the Catholic Church embarked upon the Second Vatican Council in the 1960s, each session was opened with a prayer, the same prayer, a prayer that remarkably, with a few slight adaptations, I think speaks so beautifully to the moment in which we live. And it was a prayer that captured the essence of what the Second Vatican Council was about for the Catholic Church, which was, how do we engage with the modern world? And that's a project that is never finished. For me as a Catholic and for all of us from the various faith traditions from which we come, how do we live in this present moment? How do we engage the modern world? And so this is the prayer that began each of those sessions that I offer for each one of us at this moment. We stand before you, O God, conscious of our brokenness, but aware that we gather in your name. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. As individuals and as a nation, give us and our leaders light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us by your wisdom, support us by your power, for you are God. You desire justice for all. Enable us and our leaders to uphold the rights and dignity of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love and keep us faithful to all that is true. We gather in your name. As we gather in your name, may we temper justice with love, so that all our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to peacemakers.
I'm Sharon Kleinbaum, and I'm delighted to be here on behalf of New York Jewish Agenda, and our chair, Nancy Kaufman, is here tonight, as several of our members. Let's see if I can make this microphone not attack me. Well, this is a time of exercising the muscles of holding multiple truths at once. We have to hold the despair, the fear, the anger, the anxiety, the hopelessness, at the same time that we remind ourselves of the power of God's love. So I'm here to offer some words. I've been asked to offer words of call to action. And the first one is that may we, with God's strength, be able to take the action of self-care. The first place in which we must act is to make sure we are strengthening ourselves for the marathon that lies ahead. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. There is much we don't know, and there are some things we do know. Joy itself is an act of spiritual and political resistance. Every time we insist on our right and our God-given obligation to whatever way it's expressed in our different traditions, experience a piece of joy or happiness, it is an act of resistance to a system of power that we know historically thrives on our misery and our apathy and our despair. So our first call to action must be in taking care of ourselves, not in a way that we descend into a place we think we're disengaging, but understanding that feeding our souls and taking care of our bodies will make it possible for us to engage in the marathon that lies ahead. Bimkom she'eno ish hishtadel ish. In our tradition we say, in a place where humanity has disappeared, it is our obligation, precisely dafka at that place, to express our deepest humanity. In a place where humanity has disappeared and where no one is acting in the way of humanity, it is precisely that time and place that we must not descend to what looks as what is becoming the norm, but we must remember and remind ourselves often by looking into each other's eyes of what our deepest values are. We must not become whatever the lowest level is, but we must continue to build that sense of values we know to be true. In the moments of greatest challenge, that's when God is asking us to arrive at the highest level of who we are as human beings. We are told over and over again in the story of Noah, which we just read a couple of weeks ago in our Jewish tradition, that Noah was a righteous man in his generation, the text says. And the commentaries ask, why is it necessary to say in his generation? Either he's a righteous man or he's not. So some of the commentaries in our tradition say he was a righteous man only in comparison to how bad the generation in which he found himself. The standard was so low, the guy looked good. Well, other commentators say, no, he was a righteous man in any generation in which he would have been found, and that will be our test. Will we be righteous because we're judged by the profound evil that we see around, or will we be righteous by the values each of our traditions demand of us? That is our charge, I believe. Psalm 27 ends, Chazak v'yametz libecha. This might be the hardest of all. Be strong, strengthen your heart, and have courage. Kaveh el Adonai. Don't give up on hope of the eternal values we embody. And as Michael Walzer says in his classic book about the book of Exodus, ultimately all of us have to recognize the story of Exodus teaches us that Mitzrayim, the biblical Egypt, is everywhere. And we are still in Mitzrayim, which in Hebrew means narrow place, a place where it's hard to breathe, a place where it's hard to live, a place where it's hard to be expansive. Everywhere is Mitzrayim, is Egypt. And there is only one way through the desert, and that is by holding hands and taking it one small step at a time together. So I've been asked to share this pledge, and I ask all of you to respond by repeating this pledge as a community together. In response to despair, I pledge to hope. I pledge to hope. In response to sorrow, I pledge to create joy. In response to grief, I pledge to care for myself and let myself be cared for. In response to grief, I pledge to care for myself and let myself be cared for. In response to hate, I pledge to love. In response to hate, I pledge to love. In response to division, I pledge to engage in community. In response to division, I pledge to engage in community. And in response to apathy, I pledge to act. In response to apathy, I pledge to act. And let us say, Amen.
My heart is pounding, and I can only swallow slightly. There's a brick between my Adam's apple and my esophagus, and it makes it hard to breathe and harder to take a step in any direction, much less towards you, whose comfort eludes me, whose shadow I follow, though I am lost in the cast of dark over light. I want to shield the ones I love, to protect the widow, the orphan, and so many strangers from foreign lands whose names I have known before they were spoken. They say they will come for me, but I know they will come for them first, and the watching will be horror. So I run ahead in fear. There will be no place to call home. On this journey into what is not known and what is not anticipated and what is not safe, we ask that you carry us in our fatigue, comfort us in our loneliness, calm us in our panic, embrace us through our fear, and bring us safely to the place you call home.
Thank you. That was very beautiful and moving.
In these uncertain times, as we grapple with the anxiety and stress that this election has brought, we come together to seek strength, guidance, and unity. This past week has weighed very heavily on many of us as we face fear about what the future holds under new leadership. Our anxiety over the unknown may even cloud our hope and weaken our resolve. And while we may feel tempted to assign blame or look for faults, let us remember that Allah the Almighty has decreed all things with wisdom. Even if we cannot understand it, as Muslims, we trust that in every decree of Allah, there is a path to good, a chance for us to grow, and an opportunity to do better. Perhaps this challenge is here to strengthen our unity, to embolden our courage, and to inspire a renewed commitment not only to our individual values, but also to those we share with others. Now is time to listen, to build, and to heal rather than hurt. Our words hold the power to uplift, just as it does the power to harm. And if we are to honor our covenant with Allah, we must choose to build, to speak with kindness, and to stand for justice, not because it is easy or convenient, but because it just is the right thing to do. So let us rise, O people of faith, and do the work of God, whether it's fighting for climate change, protecting human rights, ending violence and oppression, or advocating for health care and dignity for all. Let us be resolute in our quest for a better world. Call your representatives, attend hearings, encourage young people to register to vote, open your doors to those in need. And when we've done all that, we can then sing praises in the glory of God, trusting in His wisdom and mercy. The journey towards a just and brighter future does not begin tomorrow. It begins today. Let us leave here with renewed commitment, united in purpose, ready to serve as champions of justice and compassion. I pray that Allah make this easy for us and assist us in all that we do. When Brennan sent me an email asking if I could join this prayer service, I kept thinking about it for days, really not sure what to say. I was thinking about what verse in the Quran really speaks to what's happening today, speak to the heart that is so hurt that we sometimes forget the God that we serve. And so I find some verses that I think will be that is relevant to this day. I'll read a couple of verses from the Quran, but my emphasis is on the last two. So bear with me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والذين إذا فعلوا فاحشة أو ظلموا أنفسهم ذكروا الله فاستغفروا لذنوبهم ومن يغفر الذنوب إلا الله ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا وهم يعلمون أولئك جزاؤهم مغفرة من ربهم ربهم وجنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ونعم أجر العاملين قد خلت من قبلكم سنن فسيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين هذا بيان للناس وهدى وموعظة للمتقين ولا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. And I'm just going to translate the last two verses. Allah talks to us in the Quran. Said, this is an insight to humanity, a guide and a lesson to those who are God conscious. Do not falter or grieve, for you will have the upper hand if you truly believe. Let us all be believers, and God will fulfill what we believe. Thank you so much. Oh, I do have some stickers here from Fordham University Campus Ministry. It's a sticker that shows multi-faith or interfaith. So please take one, put on your phones, put on your laptops, give it to your kids.
Hold on for tech. All right. When we got together, some of us, to plan this event, we were talking about the need to reflect and the need to inspire action. And Rev Chloe said, but somebody needs to say that we're not starting from scratch. I thought that was pretty important. A lot of things that she says are. We're not beginners. We're not starting from scratch, and we're not isolated entities or organizations who are trying to build back justice by ourselves. So instead of letting hopelessness shape what we see before us, I thought we would try for a different kind of a vision that we need in our hearts and minds right now. So when I mention something to which you have given your time, yourself, participated in, or even led, I'm gonna ask that you would rise in body and or in spirit. Some of you will need to stand and sit quite often. You'll be like Noah, very righteous, very righteous. If you have, over the last 8 years, responded in any way to our housing crisis, that might mean that you've provided shelter or offered shelter support, fought against evictions, agitated or advocated for safe and affordable housing, or fought the ideology of not in my backyard, please rise. And sit back down. If you have fought to expose and or transform the nation's corrupt, racist, and unjust immigration policy and practice in any way, supported refugees and migrants, asylum seekers, and welcomed our newest neighbors, please rise. Oh, this is the vision we need, and sit back down. If you have fought back against white supremacy and made racism just a little less comfortable within you and within your communities, maybe you've done anti-racism training, maybe you've protested state violence against our black or brown siblings, maybe you've worked to change systems of racial oppression within your organizations, would you please rise in body or in spirit? Thank you, thank you. Sit down. but not for long. If you fought back against an attack on reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy, if you've supported medical providers and grassroots organizations who have been at this work for a very long time, would you please rise? That's what I'm talking about, people. That's what I'm talking about. And find your seat again. If you have worked to build community by showing up as an ally when it was needed, maybe you attended a worship service or a vigil that was not in your own tradition. Maybe you attended an event out of solidarity. Maybe you sent a supportive text to a colleague in the work, or started and maintained a friendship outside of your silo. Maybe you provided a listening ear or a compassionate presence to a fellow justice builder when they needed it. If that was you at any time in 8 years, rise. All right, everybody in the house, I love it. All right, sit back down. If you have helped to serve others, this might be in big ways or might be in very small ways. I like that. You could just stay up, right? If you have treated somebody else's needs as holy, this one's for you. Maybe you gave of yourself by baking cookies or cooking for a community meal, by tutoring or donating and distributing clothing, money, essential goods, or by volunteering at a resource fair, a free store, or a legal clinic. If that's you, get up. You need some recognition. This is the work we're depending on. And sit back down. If you have had to deal with the city or the state or the federal government, God bless you. If you have called an elected, written a letter, signed a petition, took part in a lobby day, marched in Albany or DC or even here in NYC, if you've gone to a community board meeting, if you have followed city council proceedings or helped in voter registration efforts, please rise. All right, well done, good and faithful servants. Sit back down. This is a long one. Take a deep breath. If you have joined others to work for any of the following as I name them, when it connects with you and your heart, please rise. If you have worked to support queer and trans folks' rights, if you have worked to confront anti-Semitism, if you've worked to dismantle patriarchy, to confront Islamophobia, to fight against white Christian nationalism, to dismantle mass incarceration, to encourage restorative justice, to support unions and worker rights, to fight for fair wages, to work as allies of our indigenous siblings, to lobby for environmental protections, to demand stricter gun laws, to fight for affordable health care, to ensure the resourcing and support of our public education, and to pray with all of our hearts and our minds and our hands and our feet for peace here and everywhere across the globe. Give yourselves a hand. Look around. Look around. So when we are clouded by visions of despair and hatred, remember these faces. Literally turn around. This is our community. This is what we have, and we are rich, friends. We are rich in resources and rich in our tradition. You can sit back down. But don't ever forget that this is our truth, and this is our reality. We have fought hard and we have worked hard to create this beautiful vision. So we've learned some lessons and some wisdom, and we are not, Reverend Chloe, we are not beginners, right? I would say that we're expert, and we're gonna need to be expert. We can do this hard thing because we've done it before. Amen.
Get back to that resisting song. We resist, we refuse to let hatred in. We rise up, we won't back down. We're in this till the end. We resist, we refuse We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up, we won't back down. We're in this till the end. All right. So keep resisting, but now you can sit down.
Well, first, just to thank everyone who's here this evening. A special thanks to our prayer givers and speakers tonight, for our hosts. Every time I come in here and look at this banner, I thank God you all are here. And at a moment's notice, we'll do something as crazy as welcome this incredible group of people. So thank you so much. To B'nai Jeshurun, our partners, Jewish Theological Seminary, the JCC of Manhattan, New York Jewish Agenda, the Synagogue Coalition on the Refugees and the Immigrant Crisis, and Union Theological Seminary. If you all want someone to thank for the walk that you made from 121st Street, you can thank the president here, Serene Jones, who had the good idea of calling in the morning. And most of all, I want to thank my colleague from ICNY, Brennan Brink, Outreach Coordinator of Migrants, and also really for your energy and compassion and extraordinary initiative to make this happen, so thank you. With that, we have a final word.
Yes, and as we part, we turn to our friends at In Flesh for this final blessing and sending forth. Would you please rise and just maybe offer your arms in a receiving gesture? This one's coming for you. Whether you find yourself trembling or cautiously hopeful, whether you are holding your breath or pacing to and fro, whether you are seeking silence and quiet or busying yourself with labors you believe in.
Whether you are rallying or praying or supporting or readying or making every last effort you possibly can, keep close to your precious spirit and your holy skin and your brave being and your sacred imagination. The knowledge and assurance of whatever will be, whatever will become, whatever waits before us, we are capable of rising to meet it if we do so together.
Together for justice, together for protection, together in solidarity, together in love practice where and how it is needed most. We will have work to do and undo. We will find beauty to sustain us. We will need to adapt and create and heal and fight. We will, whatever it is.
So come and take your place in the long lineage of hope that persists through empires rising and falling. Try to keep your pace aligned with the Spirit, that steady pulse of divine possibility, beating to the rhythms of creation, slow and grounding, ancient and purposeful, unwavering and persistent.
In adamant defiance of anything that comes to steal life. Stay close, friends.
And go in peace and power. Amen.
Amen. Love you.